Victor Kane stood at my mother's front door as though he had been invited for dinner. Dark suit, gray eyes. A faint scar across his right thumb. He was older than the photographs hidden beneath my father's barn, but time had not changed the one feature I remembered most clearly. His smile never reached his eyes. I was watching him through the hospital window when Marcus's recorder finished playing my mother's classified message. On the screen, a younger Margaret Hayes wore an intelligence officer's uniform. Her final words were still echoing in the room. If Marcus has come home, Victor Kane has already learned who I am, and he will come for me next. Outside, the rear door of Kane's black vehicle remained open. My mother stood on the sidewalk, holding a paper bag filled with food for Sophie. She looked at Kane. Then she looked toward the hospital window. She could not see me from that distance, but she knew I was there. Kane said something. My mother answered. Neither raised a hand, neither appeared surprised. Then Kane removed the bag from her arms and placed it carefully on the roof of the vehicle. He opened the rear door wider. My mother stepped inside. I was already running before the door closed. Elena. Marcus called from his hospital bed. I reached the stairwell. Anna Voss followed me. Where are you going, my mother? You don't know how many men Kane has outside. He only needs one. That is not how private intelligence networks work. I pushed through the emergency exit. By the time I reached the hospital entrance, the vehicle had pulled away. Naomi Carter was standing beside an unmarked government car. She saw my face and unlocked the doors. Which vehicle? Black sedan. East exit. She accelerated before I had finished fastening my seatbelt. Anna climbed into the back. I called my mother. Her phone rang once. Then someone answered, Elena. Kane's voice was calm. Where is she? Your mother and I are having a conversation that should have happened 25 years ago. Put her on. She is listening. Mom? There was a pause. Then my mother spoke. I'm all right. Where are you? Do not follow us. Kane laughed softly. You see? Margaret still gives orders as though the world remembers who she was. My mother's voice hardened. Victor. He stopped laughing. That single word told me more than the classified recording had. She did not fear him, she knew him. Let her go, I said. I haven't taken her. You put her in your vehicle. She entered voluntarily. Mom? He's telling the truth, she said. I looked at Naomi. She heard the call through the vehicle speakers. Why? I asked. Because he wants something. What? Kane answered for her. The Atlas Register. Anna leaned forward. What is that? Kane heard her voice. Anna Voss, he said. Your father always did leave unfinished business behind. She became still. My mother spoke sharply. She has nothing to do with this. Everyone has something to do with this, Margaret. That was your great mistake. You believed people could be separated into innocent and involved. Where are you taking her? I asked. Kane ignored me. Colonel Hayes, have you ever wondered why your mother chose a school as her civilian cover? She was an administrator. She counted children. My mother said, end the call. Kane continued. She counted who arrived, who left, and who disappeared between one identity and the next. Victor. She taught me that the easiest way to hide a person is not to erase their name. It is to give the name to someone else. The call ended. Naomi checked the traffic system. The vehicle's plates are cloned. Find the hospital surveillance route. Already trying. Anna looked toward me. What is the Atlas Register? I don't know. But your mother does. Yes. And Kane believes she'll give it to him. No. How can you be sure? I watched the road ahead. My mother brought food to a hospital while knowing the most dangerous man in the country was waiting outside. That doesn't answer the question. Yes, it does. My mother had not entered Kane's car because she surrendered. She entered because she had chosen the battlefield. My mother had worked for 23 years at Franklin Regional Academy, outside Colorado Springs. Officially, it was a private school serving military families. Unofficially, it closed 6 months after she retired. The building had been empty ever since. We found her car parked outside the hospital. Inside, it was the paper bag Kane had removed from her hands. Beneath the food containers lay an old attendance book. The cover was faded blue, a label across the front read, Franklin Regional Academy. 1998, *. Naomi opened it. Most pages contained ordinary names. Dates and attendance marks. Page 17 was different. 24 student names had been written in red ink. Beside each was a second name in black. Anna examined the list. These are aliases. How do you know? I asked. One belongs to my mother. Dr. Evelyn Shaw's name appeared in red. Beside it was Emily Ward, transferred October 14. My mother had not been counting students. She had been recording new identities. A sentence was written at the bottom of the page. The absent student is counted twice. * Naomi photographed every page. Could this be the Atlas register? No. Anna said. This is only 1 year. How many years did Margaret work at the school? Naomi asked. 23, I said. 23 books, 23 years of hidden names, potentially hundreds of witnesses. The Atlas register was not a single file. It was the complete map connecting every former identity to every new one. Kane could use it to locate survivors who had escaped his network, or erase them permanently. A small brass key had been taped inside the rear cover. The number *207 was engraved on it, the same number as the Baltimore storage locker. We drove directly to Franklin Regional Academy. Its windows were dark, and weeds had pushed through the cracked parking lot. The main doors were chained, but the brass key opened a side entrance beside the administration wing. The building smelled of dust and floor wax. Children's artwork still hung along the hallway. Paper flags, painted handprints. A poster that read, Everestant deserves to be seen. No Bennett met us inside, carrying a flashlight and looking unhappy. You entered a closed school using a key found in a suspected intelligence ledger. It opened the door, I said. That does not make it legal. Did you bring the search authorization? I brought an emergency preservation order, so it's legal. It is less illegal. We entered my mother's former office. The furniture had been removed. Only a corkboard and a metal filing cabinet remained. The cabinet was empty. Naomi checked behind it. Fresh marks on the floor. Someone moved it recently, Anna said. We pulled the cabinet away from the wall. A narrow steel door stood behind it. The brass key opened the lock. Stairs descended beneath the school. Noah looked down. Why does every property connected to your family have a bunker? My parents disliked attics. The underground room was smaller than the refuge beneath the farm. There were no weapons or medical beds, only filing shelves, old computer terminals, and rows of school yearbooks. A portrait of my mother hung on the far wall. She looked younger, dressed in a simple gray suit. Beneath it was a metal plate. Margaret Hayes, Director of Dienstservices Annas, stared at the title. Student Services. Witness relocation. Naomi said, I removed the nearest yearbook. Several student photographs had been cut out. Behind each missing photograph was a microfilm strip. Noah opened another book. Your mother built an intelligence archive inside school yearbooks. She always said children never returned them on time. One computer terminal activated when I touched the keyboard. A recorded image appeared. My mother sat at the desk 20 years earlier. She looked directly into the camera. Elena, if you are watching this. Victor found the first attendance book. She paused. You will be angry. That is accurate, I whispered. I have spent your entire life asking you to trust a woman who never gave you the information required to make that trust reasonable. Her voice remained controlled, but I saw something behind her eyes. Regret. I served as a case officer in the Defense Intelligence Agency. My operational name was Lantern 1. Anna inhaled quietly. My mother continued. The Lantern program was created to relocate military personnel. civilian witnesses and family members whose identities were compromised during covert operations. Photographs appeared beside her, men and women with faces I recognized from the bunker. Your father provided medical support. I built the identity network. Then Victor Kane's photograph appeared. He was young, perhaps 26. Victor was my most talented recruit. My hands tightened. I taught him surveillance, identity construction, and emergency extraction. I believed he wanted to protect people who had nowhere else to go. The photograph changed. Kane stood beside Richard Mercer. I was wrong. Financial records appeared. Kane began selling access to witnesses. Mercer supplied transport. Adrian Voss protected the operation inside the command structure. And Caldwell? I asked the recording. My mother could not answer. But the next image showed General Thomas Caldwell. Caldwell discovered part of the network and helped me remove 7 witnesses. He did not know the full program. I did not trust him with it. Even the man who believed he had concealed the truth had been given only a portion of it. The Atlas Register connects every original identity to every replacement identity. It was divided into 3 parts. A diagram appeared. Names, locations, authentication. Asterisk. The attendance books contain the names. Your father protected the authentication system. And the locations? Naomi asked. My mother looked directly into the camera. I kept them in memory. No digital list. No document. No object Kane could steal. My mother alone knew where the survivors had been placed. That is why he took her, Anna said. No, I replied. I watched my mother's recorded face. That is why she allowed him to. The video continued. If Kane is listening, he will believe I can be forced to reconstruct Atlas. The screen changed to an old-school bell mounted above a classroom door. He will also believe I destroyed the failsafe. What failsafe? Noah asked. My mother answered from the recording. The final attendance bell. The message ended. A printer beside the terminal activated. 1 page emerged. It contained the address of a federal detention facility and a time. Over, sight hearing. Beneath it, my mother had written, "Do not rescue me before 3rd period." Asterisk. Noah read the line twice. What does that mean? I folded the page. It means she has a plan. And do you understand it? No. Are we still going? Yes, he sighed. Of course we are. Before the hearing, we received a call from Aaron. He had been transferred from federal custody to a military holding facility outside Denver. No transfer order appeared in the official system. Kane's people had moved him. Aaron's face appeared on the secure screen inside Noah's office. He looked thinner than the last time I had seen him. Elena. What did Kane want? My brother attempted a smile. No greeting? You called because you're afraid. I've been afraid since Dad's funeral. No, you were angry. There's a difference. He looked away. Kane visited me again. What did he ask? Whether Mom ever took us to the school at night. Did she? When we were children? I did not remember. Aaron did. You were 7, he said. I was 10. Dad told us the building had flooded. What happened? Mom left us in the library while she met people downstairs. What people? Soldiers. Did you recognize any? One. Who? Mercer. The network reached deeper into our childhood than I understood. Why are you telling me now? Because Kane showed me a photograph. What photograph? Aaron lifted a print toward the camera. It showed my mother standing beside Victor Kane and a teenage boy. Aaron, the timestamp was from 8 years earlier. You met Kane, I said. Aaron's eyes filled with shame. He introduced himself as a Foundation consultant. You told me you first met him in prison. I lied. That is becoming a family language. He said Dad had hidden money from the recovery center, and you believed him. He showed me transfers. Did he help you create Mason Ridge? Aaron said nothing. I understood. My brother's financial crimes had not begun with simple greed. Kane had guided him. That did not make Aaron innocent. It made him useful. What did you give Kane? I asked. Access to Dad's office. The night before his final collapse. Aaron closed his eyes. Yes, my body became cold. What did Kane do inside? I don't know. You let him enter our dying father's office and didn't ask. He said he was retrieving proof that Dad planned to cut me out of the Foundation. He was. I know that now. What did Kane take? A black medical case. Anything else? He copied Dad's medication schedule. For a second I could not speak. Dad had collapsed shortly afterward. 3 days later, he died. Elena, Aaron said, I didn't know. You never know until the consequence arrives. I thought Dad was humiliating me again. He was trying to stop you from stealing. I know. No. You know because a judge read it aloud. That is not the same as understanding. Aaron lowered his head. Kane wants me to testify at the hearing. About what? He wants me to say, Mom used the recovery center to hide illegal intelligence payments. Will you? He offered to make my charges disappear. And? Aaron looked directly into the camera. I told him no. I did not answer. It was the first time in years my brother had made the correct decision without knowing whether anyone would reward him. He'll hurt you, I said. He already did. No, he used you. There's a difference. That sounds familiar. Perhaps fear and anger were not the only things that differed. Being manipulated did not remove responsibility. But responsibility did not erase the possibility of change. Aaron moved closer to the camera. Mom sent me a message. When? 10 minutes ago. What did it say? He placed a handwritten card against the glass. It contained a chess notation our mother had taught us as children. Oxt QR4. KB2. Absent, Puan counts twice. Oxt Naomi photographed it. Does this mean anything to you? She asked. Aaron answered. When Mom played chess, she moved the queen backward before setting a trap. I examined the notation. The queen retreats. And the king believes the board is open. Aaron said. Our mother had entered Kane's vehicle deliberately. She was not waiting to be rescued. She was leading him somewhere he believed was safe. What happens at third period? Noah asked. Aaron smiled faintly. The school bell. The federal oversight hearing began at 10 o'clock. It was held inside a secured courthouse, rather than the Pentagon, because General Voss's arrest had made military review politically dangerous. Reporters filled the gallery. The public knew only part of the story. A retired school administrator had allegedly operated an unauthorized military witness network beneath civilian properties. Her daughter, Colonel Elena Hayes, had been connected to classified leaks, hidden bunkers, and the recovery of a soldier declared dead 12 years earlier. To many people, the truth sounded less believable than the conspiracy. Victor Kane entered through the main doors under federal escort. He was not handcuffed. No arrest warrant appeared under his name. His attorney had negotiated temporary immunity in exchange for testimony about the Hayes intelligence network. Kane wore the same dark suit he had worn outside the hospital. My mother walked behind him. She wore a navy dress and carried no visible restraints, but an officer remained on each side of her. She saw me. Her expression did not change. The panel chair introduced himself as Senator Daniel Rourke. Beside him sat military attorneys, intelligence officials, and a retired federal judge. General Caldwell watched from the witness section, his injured shoulder still supported beneath his jacket. Marcus attended through a secure video feed from the hospital. Kane testified first. He described himself as a former government contractor who had discovered illegal detention sites operated by Margaret and Thomas Hayes. My role, he said, was to expose a private network hidden behind veteran charities, schools, and military recovery programs. Noah whispered beside me. He is accusing your parents of running his operation. He has always survived by standing beside his own crime and pointing at someone else. Kane presented photographs of the bunker. Beneath the farm, he presented the Franklin Academy attendance books. He showed private payments moving through the Hayes Recovery Center. Some were authentic. Authentic. Others had been altered. The strongest lies are constructed from evidence that survive the truth. Senator Rourke looked toward my mother. Mrs. Hayes, were you employed by the Department of Defense? My mother remained silent. Kane smiled. She was a school administrator. A few reporters looked up. Kane continued. Margaret Hayes built an elaborate fantasy after her husband's retirement. She told vulnerable military families that she could give them new identities. He turned toward her. She had no authority. My mother looked at him. Tell them who trained you. Kane's smile weakened. I trained through several government programs. Tell them my name, Margaret Hayes, my operational name. His attorney stood. This line of questioning concerns potentially classified identities. A woman in the gallery rose. She was in her late 70s, with white hair and a silver cane. Every intelligence officer in the room recognized her before I did. Retired National Intelligence Director Helen Ward. The panel chair stood, so did General Caldwell. Then 3 senior military officers. Director Ward looked toward my mother. Lantern 1, she said. The room fell silent. Kane stared at her. Ward continued. Margaret Hayes was not an unauthorized school administrator. She founded the sanctioned Lantern relocation program under Presidential Security Directive 14-7. The reporters began writing rapidly. Senator Rourke leaned toward the microphone. Director Ward, are you stating the witness operated with federal authority? For the original program? Yes. What was its purpose? To protect compromised military personnel and intelligence witnesses when ordinary relocation systems had been penetrated. Was Victor Kane part of it? Ward looked directly at him. He was recruited and trained by Margaret Hayes. Kane's attorney objected. The panel overruled him. My mother finally took the witness stand. She gave her name, her service history, her operational title. Then Senator Rourke asked the question everyone expected. Did Victor Kane corrupt the Lantern program? My mother looked toward me before answering. No. The room shifted. Kane leaned back. I felt Naomi turn beside me. My mother continued. Victor Kane did not corrupt the program. She looked toward the panel. I did. The sentence struck harder than any accusation Kane had made. Senator Rourke stared at her. Explain. I selected him. I trained him. I ignored early warnings because his results protected people I believed would otherwise die. Did you know he was selling witness information? Not at first. And when you learned? I tried to dismantle the program quietly. Why quietly? To protect the relocated witnesses. Kane smiled again. My mother continued. That decision allowed him to build a second network beneath the first. Senator Rourke looked toward me. Did Colonel Hayes know about your activities? No. Did she later access Lantern files without authorization? My mother paused. Yes. Kane's attorney turned toward the reporters. Did Colonel Hayes compromise the Atlas Register? Yes. I stared at my mother. We had spent years rebuilding trust after Dad's death. Now she was confirming the accusation that could end my career. General Caldwell shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's voice came through the secure speaker. Margaret. My mother did not look toward the screen. Senator Rourke continued. Should Colonel Hayes's clearance remain suspended? My mother's answer was immediate. Yes. A quiet sound moved through the gallery. Kane looked at me. Not triumphant, curious. He wanted to know whether I understood. I did not. Then my mother placed both hands on the table. On her right thumb was a small blue ink mark, the same mark she had used when checking our childhood attendance sheets. Absent student counted twice. Asterisk, the Queen retreats. The King believes the board is open. My mother was not surrendering me. She was convincing Kane the trap had failed. During the recess, federal officers escorted my mother into a consultation room. Kane entered 5 minutes later, carrying a sealed data drive. No cameras were permitted inside. Naomi had already placed one there. The feed appeared on a secure tablet in Noah's office. Kane set the drive on the table. Reconstruct Atlas. My mother looked at it. You know I cannot do that from memory. You remembered every child who passed through Franklin Academy. They were not children. Some were. His expression hardened. Anna Voss was 12, and you abducted her. I recovered a compromised asset. You took a child because she found files proving you sold soldiers. Kane sat across from her. You taught me never to confuse the emotional description of an action with its operational purpose. I taught you to protect the person before the mission. No. Thomas taught that. You taught me to survive. My mother looked toward him. And you learned only half the lesson. He pushed the drive closer. This contains the attendance names. You provide the location sequence and authentication phrase. And then? The surviving witnesses are consolidated, killed, protected from public exposure. By the man who sold them the first time. Kane's voice lowered. Your daughter opened Channel 6. She opened the farm bunker. She recovered Marcus Reed. Every survivor is now a liability because Elena cannot leave buried things underground. A faint smile touched my mother's face. You always disliked her. I respected her. You feared her. She was a child. She saw through you at 11. Kane's jaw tightened. I remembered him from no part of my childhood, but perhaps I had met him under another name. My mother lifted the drive. You will leave Elena out of this. If Atlas is complete. And Aaron? His cooperation will be rewarded. He refused you. Then his usefulness is limited. My mother closed her hand around the drive. Give me access. Kane removed a small terminal from his case. She entered names, numbers and phrases for 11 minutes. Naomi monitored the signal. She is building something. What? I asked. I don't know. A map appeared on Kane's terminal. Dozens of lights marked locations across the country. Kane studied them. 84? 83. My mother said, You omitted someone. The original architect is not listed as a witness. Yourself? My daughter. Kane looked up. Elena was never part of Lantern. She became part of it the night you came to our home. He connected the terminal to an encrypted network. Naomi sat forward. Signal is moving. Where? Multiple private servers. Kane entered an authorization code. Every location light turned green. My mother looked at the clock. 10:47, third period. In the abandoned Franklin Academy, the old school bell began to ring. Naomi's laptop filled with alerts. What happened? She stared at the screen. The Atlas file is transmitting to Kane's network. From it, she opened one connection after another. Private detention facilities, shell companies, bank accounts, contractor databases, aircraft registries, medical records. Every system Kane used to locate witnesses was now transmitting its own evidence to federal preservation servers. My mother had not reconstructed the Atlas register. She had given him a mirror. The false locations Kane believed were witness. Addresses were authentication beacons. The moment he connected them to his network, they identified every active server and safe site under his control. Noah looked toward the time. The school bell. She built the failsafe around a scheduled signal, Naomi said. Kane could not detect activation until he connected all systems. Inside the consultation room, Kane's terminal began displaying warnings. He understood immediately. What did you do? My mother remained seated. I took attendance. He grabbed her arm. The officers outside did not enter. They had been replaced by Kane's contractors. The courthouse lights went out. Emergency alarms activated throughout the building. Kane's attorney disappeared through a side door. 2 armed contractors entered the hearing chamber, wearing federal tactical uniforms. Naomi checked their shoulder markings. Wrong unit patch. They were Kane's men. One moved toward the server station. The other moved toward Director Ward. I crossed the room before he reached her. He saw me and raised his weapon. I struck the barrel aside. The shot entered the ceiling. People screamed and dropped beneath the benches. The contractor drove me against the witness table. I caught his wrist and forced the weapon between us. He was larger, but he had trained to overwhelm frightened civilians. Not someone who had spent her career waiting for the first mistake. He shifted his weight too far forward. I stepped behind his knee, turned his arm and drove him face first into the table. Caldwell took the weapon. Naomi tackled the second contractor near the server station. Anna reached Director Ward and moved her behind the reinforced panel. Noah stood in the center aisle holding a fire extinguisher. "I have no idea what I'm doing." "Then keep doing it away from the trigger." The courthouse security doors sealed automatically. Marcus's hospital video feed remained active. His voice came through the speakers. "Elena, Kane is moving toward the service tunnel." "How do you know?" "The Franklin plans are on the Atlas feed. The courthouse uses the same emergency architecture." My mother had helped design both facilities. I entered the consultation corridor. The two officers who had escorted her were unconscious beside the wall. The room was empty. A service door stood open. Beyond it, stairs descended beneath the courthouse. Caldwell followed me. "You stay here," I said. "I've heard that before. You were shot 2 weeks ago. I was also insulted by an attorney 10 minutes ago. The second injury was worse." We entered the tunnel. Emergency lights flashed red along the walls. Kane was 30 yards ahead with one arm around my mother. A pistol rested beneath her jaw. "Stop," he called. We stopped. My mother's expression remained calm. Kane looked toward Caldwell. "Thomas, you should have remained loyal to the first lie." Caldwell raised the stolen rifle. "You were never the first lie." "No? You were a frightened young man Margaret mistook for a patriot." Kane pressed the pistol harder against her. "She made me." My mother answered quietly. "I taught you how to disappear. You taught me that institutions sacrifice people and then call the paperwork honor. I taught you institutions fail." "And what did you do?" "I built another one." Kane smiled, "And it failed too." My mother looked toward me. "No." She moved her right hand slightly, a classroom gesture, 2 fingers down, 1 to the left. The chess signal she had used when teaching Aaron and me. Queen retreats, king exposed. I noticed the old fire control pipe above Kane. Caldwell saw it too. I lowered my weapon. Kane's smile widened. "That's right, Elena." I took 1 step backward. Then another. He believed I was obeying. He believed the emotional daughter had replaced the colonel. My mother suddenly dropped her weight. Kane's pistol moved away from her throat for less than a second. Caldwell fired at the pipe. Water exploded from the ceiling. The emergency lights flickered. I crossed the distance and struck Kane's weapon hand. The pistol discharged into the wall. My mother turned beneath his arm and drove her elbow into his ribs. She had not moved like a retired school administrator. She had moved like the woman who trained him. Kane recovered quickly. He caught her coat and threw her against the concrete wall. I reached him. We struck the floor together. He drove his forearm against my throat. "You destroyed 84 lives today," he said. "No." I forced his arm aside. I gave them back. He struck my injured shoulder. Pain tore through me. Kane moved toward the service exit. My mother caught his ankle. He kicked her away. Caldwell stepped between Kane and the door. For 1 second, the 3 people who had created, corrupted, and concealed the Lantern program faced one another inside a flooded tunnel. Kane drew a small blade from his sleeve. Caldwell raised the rifle. My mother shouted, "Alive!" Caldwell hesitated. Kane used the moment. He struck the emergency release. A steel divider dropped between us. Kane disappeared through the opposite corridor. By the time we opened the divider, an armored vehicle had crashed through the service gate. He was gone. But he had left the terminal behind. On its screen, 83 Atlas beacons remained active. Naomi's voice came through my radio. "Federal teams have the network." "How many sites?" 14 active facilities, 9 financial hubs, 3 aircraft. Witnesses? 23 confirmed alive. My mother leaned against the wall. Kane had escaped, but the system he spent decades building was no longer invisible. Sometimes revenge is not watching the enemy fall. Sometimes it is making certain he can never hide in the same darkness again. The hearing resumed 6 hours later. Kane's immunity agreement was revoked after investigators confirmed he had lied under oath and coordinated the armed attack. My mother's testimony continued in a closed session. She accepted responsibility for concealing parts of the original Lantern program. She also provided evidence that every relocation had initially been authorized. Director Ward confirmed my mother had attempted to expose Kane years earlier, but was ordered to protect the witness identities instead. My clearance was provisionally restored. No public apology was issued. Institutions often correct injustice in language designed to avoid admitting it occurred. That evening, my mother and I returned to Franklin Academy. The school bell had stopped ringing. We sat inside her old office. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. I looked at the portrait on the wall, Director of Student Services. Lantern 1. My mother. Did Dad know everything? I asked. Almost. Did he know Kane recruited Aaron? He suspected it. Did you? Not until your father found the Mason Ridge transfers. You could have warned me. You were deployed. You had a telephone. You were being monitored. That answer has become very convenient in this family. She looked down. You are right. The admission disarmed me more than an argument would have. Why did you never tell me what you were? Because I wanted at least one part of my life to be real. I was real. You were the most real thing in it. Then why did you treat me like another protected identity? Her eyes filled, though her voice remained controlled. Because mothers and intelligence officers are both trained to imagine the worst thing that can happen to someone they love. And both believe secrecy prevents it. Yes, it didn't. No. I removed Dad's watch and placed it on the desk. Did you choose my military assignments? Never. Did you influence my career? I blocked one transfer when you were 24. My anger returned. What transfer? A unit controlled by Mercer. You made that decision for me. I kept you from entering his system. You still made it for me. Yes, she did not defend herself. That made the betrayal more difficult to simplify. Ponkrents sometimes cause harm while genuinely trying to prevent it. Good intentions do not erase the harm. But neither does the harm prove there was no love. Did you create Operation Silent Lantern? I asked. I approved the extraction. Dad's authorization appeared on the order. He was the medical authority. What was the actual mission? To recover 12 witnesses Kane planned to transfer overseas. My team was told we were rescuing civilians after a communications attack. We believed your briefing systems were compromised. Caldwell? He knew the extraction target, not Atlas. Marcus's? He discovered the real objective before deployment, and you let him carry that alone. My mother looked toward the floor. Yes, he lost 12 years. I know. His daughter grew up beside a grave. I know. You keep saying that as though knowing is punishment. Her eyes met mine. It is not enough, but it is not nothing. We sat in silence. Then she opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Inside was a small medical envelope. My father's name was written across the front. What is that? Your father's private toxicology report. My body became still. He requested it after his first collapse. Why? He believed someone had altered his medication. I remembered Aaron's confession. Kane entered Dad's office. He copied the medication schedule. 3 days later, Dad died. What did the report find? A synthetic cardiac compound. Could it have caused his death? Yes. You knew Dad might have been murdered. I learned after the funeral. And you told no one. I was trying to identify who administered it. Aaron? No. Relief and anger arrived together. Then who? The compound was delivered through a refill prepared at St. Vincent's Military Pharmacy. Who authorized the refill? My mother handed me the report. At the bottom was an electronic approval code. I recognized the initials. TC. Thomas Caldwell. I stared at them. No. Caldwell had access to the medical system, she said. He also tried to save Dad. So did the person who approved the medication. You believe Caldwell killed him? I believe. Victor Kane wanted us to believe Caldwell did. Why? Because Caldwell was the last person still connecting you. Marcus and the original Lantern Network. I folded the report. Does Caldwell know? No. Why not? Because I did not know whether the authorization was his. Or cloned. Like the Pentagon order. Yes. Kane had used copied credentials before. He could have used Caldwell's medical authorization. But the only way to know was to confront the general. My mother touched the attendance book. Kane lost his network today. He still escaped. He expected to. You sound certain. He always builds 2 exits. And you? My mother looked toward the basement door. I built 3. For the first time that day, I understood why Kane feared her. He had learned disappearance from Lantern 1. But he had never learned the difference between escaping and surviving what came afterward. Over the following week, federal teams entered 14 facilities connected to Kane's Atlas mirror. 23 missing witnesses were recovered. 7 had been declared dead. 4 had lived under forced identities. 3 were military medical officers who had refused to alter reports. The others were family members used to control soldiers inside Kane's network. The Franklin attendance books allowed Director Ward's team to restore their legal identities without publishing their new locations. For the first time in decades, my mother did not have to remember every name alone. Aaron testified about Kane's role in Mason Ridge and my father's office. His sentence was not erased, but the prosecutor agreed to consider his cooperation. When I visited him, he did not ask whether I could help him leave prison. He asked whether Dad had known he was sorry. I don't know, I said. Aaron nodded. It was the answer he deserved. Marcus began walking without assistance. Sophie visited every afternoon. He remembered pieces of her childhood that he had never witnessed because Laura told the same stories until they became part of him. General Caldwell returned to the recovery center after his shoulder healed. He found my mother and me waiting inside Dad's office. The toxicology report lay on the desk. Caldwell saw his authorization code. His face changed. I didn't approve this. When did you last access St. Vincent's pharmacy system? I asked. Years ago. Your credentials were used 3 days before Dad died. I never knew Thomas's medication schedule. Kane did. Caldwell looked toward my mother. You believe he cloned my authorization. I believe he wanted Elena to find your name after the Atlas network collapsed, she said. Why? Because Victor cannot rebuild while we trust one another. Caldwell looked at me. Do you? The honest answer was not simple. I trust evidence. He nodded slowly. That is more than I earned. Naomi entered carrying a secure tablet. We recovered a transmission from Kane's abandoned terminal. Location? I asked. No, a video. Kane appeared on the screen inside a private aircraft. Behind him was a medical case identical to the one taken from Dad's office. Colonel Hayes, he said, your mother has finally told you what she was. He lifted the black case. But she has not told you why your father had to die. My mother became still. Kane continued. Thomas Hayes did not discover the final Atlas file. He created it. A photograph appeared. Dad stood beside 12 soldiers inside the bunker. Marcus was among them. At the center was a man whose face had been scratched away. The final register does not contain relocated witnesses, Kane said. It contains the names of the officers who ordered their disappearances. The photograph changed. One line appeared across the screen. Final Atlas authority. Raven not Raven 6. Only Raven, Kane smiled. You believed Raven 6 was your call sign because Marcus gave it to you. He leaned closer to the camera. Ask your mother who Raven 1 was. The ended. I looked toward Margaret. She did not answer. Mom. Her eyes remained on the dark screen. Who was Raven 1? General Caldwell sat down slowly. He already knew. My mother finally spoke. Your father. The room became silent. Dad was a medic. He was also the first commander of the Refuge Extraction Network. Why didn't you tell me? Because Thomas did not die trying to protect Atlas. She looked at the toxicology report. He died because he was preparing to reveal every senior officer on the final list. How many? 12. Who is still alive? 11. And the 12th? My mother looked toward Caldwell. The general's face had turned pale. Me, he said, before I could respond. Every light inside the recovery center went out. The office telephone rang. I answered. Kane's voice spoke through the darkness. Raven 6. Your father left one officer alive because he believed that man could still choose honor. A red targeting dot appeared on Caldwell's chest through the window. Kane continued. Tonight, we find out whether he was right. The glass shattered.